Hi friends, my name is Al, or Lilstarnerd. Welcome to another bonus video. I haven't done a bonus video in a while. I didn't do any all January because I was tired. I was really tired. But I really wanted to make this video because last month I did a video about like how I keep my sketchbooks, how I fill them so fast, and based on the comments from that video and also the questions I got in prep for that video, I got the impression that one of the hardest things for people in terms of keeping a sketchbook is just coming up with ideas. Like half the questions I got were like, how do you know what to draw? How do you come up with ideas? That was at least 50% of the question. So I thought, I have ideas. I could share them with you because I relate. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is just sit down and like come up with something. And you don't necessarily want like a prompt. You don't necessarily want someone to tell you what to do, but you also don't want to have to do it yourself. So I've come up with 10 ideas ranging from like kind of vague to like kind of specific, all pretty different. That way you can find something that works for you, something that you can put your own twist on, something that kind of just is a nudge in the right direction and something that will kind of just like actually tell you exactly what to do. So hopefully whatever kind of slump you're in, this list will give you some place to start. I also want to say before we get into it, my biggest piece of advice for getting over this issue as a whole is really opening yourself up to more things as an artist. I used to struggle with this a lot back in the day when I really limited myself on the subjects I was willing to draw, the mediums I was willing to use, and that resulted in me feeling like there were only like 3 things I could ever draw, and often I would get bored of those few things. I was really afraid of being bad at things and not knowing how to do things, and so that really limited me on what I was able to draw, and therefore really limited me on the ideas I could come up with. So when you're going through this list or coming up with your own ideas, there will be a lot of ideas that probably sound like something that you've never done before, you're not willing to do, it's out of your comfort zone, and I highly encourage you to embrace that and be okay with doing something that you're bad at or you don't know how to do. Once I was willing to try different subjects and try different mediums, I had endless ideas at my fingertips because there was just so much new stuff to try and like be bad at and experiment with. And once you're okay with being bad at stuff and like opening your horizons, things just get so much easier. So when listening to this list, be open to trying new things, making some bad art, and just like having fun and experimenting. So without further ado, let's talk about these 10 ideas to fill your sketchbook. Number 1 is to pick a subject you know you struggle with or that you've never drawn before, and to dedicate a whole page or spread to studying that subject. Whether it's dogs, eyes, clouds, buildings, cars. Maybe it's something that every time you try to sit down and draw something, you struggle at this specific point, or you really just think of something like that you've never drawn before. Like I recently was like, I've never drawn cars. Let me just draw a car. You might be bad at it at first. It might be a little difficult, but dedicating a whole page to like figuring that out not only fills up a whole page in your sketchbook, but it's also a great exercise, great mileage, and it can really help you understand that subject better. And this is one of those things where it really opens up your horizons. When I sit down and think, what have I never drawn before? I often find out that I really like drawing that thing, and it introduces me to a whole new subject that I really enjoy. Number 2 is your go-to doodle or subject. This seems really obvious, but honestly, sometimes you kind of like need permission to like embrace your comfort zone. If you're feeling like uninspired, you're still motivated, but you just like don't know what to draw, it's a great idea to fall back on the classics. We all knew those girlies in middle school who drew eyes or horses or dragons. We had that like one thing that we were really good at. Just draw a bunch of those. It's a great way to get warmed up, get the juices flowing, kind of get in the zone by doing something that you know you're good at, you know you're comfortable with, and you can kind of experiment with and just do something like good that boosts your confidence. Number 3 is a still life. Either set up a still life or find one online. There's great ones all over Pinterest and like Instagram. I think I've noticed that a lot of artists nowadays, especially those who spend a lot of time online, tend to avoid still lives. They kind of seem a little boring, maybe a little old school, but I think they can be super interesting, whether you're using them for a color study or a value study. If you go super complicated or super basic and simple, I think they're great for kind of learning basics and practicing cool skills and techniques. They're also great for learning and understanding composition, so it's a great kind of like study exercise. You can go ham and do a whole piece if you want, but I think they're great to do simple little like comp studies of in your sketchbook. 4. Grab some random art supplies. I love to pick a few different art supplies, whether it be a simple color palette or literally just different art supplies of like different kinds of mediums. I swatch them, and then I try to think of something to make with them. Whether it's just filling a page with doodles using those supplies, or it's actually like a piece using them, I think it's a great exercise and a great starting point when you don't know what to do. I think limiting your art supplies is a great way to fast track that like idea composition process. And it just really puts you out of your comfort zone. It makes you think a little bit differently and helps get those creative juices flowing. 5, draw your room. Whatever room you're sitting in, your bedroom, from your viewpoint, draw what you see. This is very, Cal Arts Accepted sketchbook tour, very classic. This was in all of those sketchbooks back in the day. They probably still are. It's this very line art heavy, like just using like a micron or a pen, and very like perspective based, where you sit, you see your hands on your sketchbook and you see the room around you. That's what I got the idea from the Cal Arts sketchbook tours. I think it's so fun. It really easily fills up a whole page or spread. You can go from room to room and keep doing it over and over again. So it's a great way to fill up your sketchbook. I think it's a great technique and like exercise for that specific skill, seeing perspective, drawing from life, using lines. I think it's great. I think it's a go-to, and you should definitely do it if you haven't yet. 6 is self-portrait. You guys know I love self-portraits. I've talked about it before, and I'm gonna talk about it again. I think every artist should at least do at least one self-portrait in their life. But beyond that, I think they're just like a great go-to subject. Like if you don't have ideas, if you don't know what you're doing today, like just do a self-portrait. But you don't have to go like full self-portrait mode. Another thing that I like to do is like put on like really baggy clothes that make a really weird silhouette, and I'll kind of like take pictures, get in a weird like pose that I can't really find as a reference, and just practice weird anatomy, practice weird poses, weird faces. Basically just use yourself as a model or a reference for things that are really hard to find online and do some wacky stuff. 7, just draw your pet or your favorite animal if you don't have a pet. Sometimes I'll be really stumped on what I want to draw. Maybe I'll have a medium in mind, but I won't really know what, and like the go-to half the time is my dog. Just draw my dog. She never fails to bring me joy, make me happy. I love her so much, and so like it's a no-brainer to just draw her. I am always down to draw her. Sometimes you'll be thinking about like, what do I want to draw today? And it's like, well, I don't want to draw, like I'm not in the mood to draw XYZ. I am always in the mood to draw my dog because I always love her. It's really easy to walk over, just snap a picture of her, and boom, I've got a reference. And I can do it really fast, a really quick doodle, do a full page of doodles of my dog, or I can do one giant, like, in-depth portrait. It's also really fun to, like, find the really wacky, weird, funny pictures of her and draw those. I always get a kick out of that. Dogs, especially, are really fun to draw. But, like, if you have a pet, like, you just have an endless, like, supply of inspiration right there. 8 is color blobs. This is another thing that I swear by. I have this in every single sketchbook. I think it's a really great exercise in creativity, making you think outside the box, making you kind of like work in reverse. Basically, you can do this by yourself with whatever medium you want and with as many or as few colors as you want. What I do is I have my sister pick out a few different, like I think 4 to 5 colors of markers, and then I have her draw really weird shapes on a sketchbook spread. And then I have to go in with like a liner and come up with doodles to make out of those shapes. As someone who I don't think I'm the most creative, I find it really, really hard half the time. It's like an hour's worth of work, and it really gets me thinking, and it's really, really fun. Definitely gets the creative juices flowing. Oftentimes I'll wind up with at least one of those shapes that I just absolutely love and kind of inspire something else. And you can do this as many times as you want, so you can take up as many sketchbook pages as you want. Also, bonus idea, so like I guess 8.5, is just like sit and draw with someone else. When I'm really wanting to just use up a page and I'm not really worried about how I'm using it, like I genuinely just want to use a page in my sketchbook, I'll sit down with someone and have them draw with me, or we'll do like a draw battle where I'll draw one thing and they have to draw based off of that, and we kind of draw on top of each other basically. If you have any children in your life, ask them to draw you something in your sketchbook, or sometimes I'll just make my friends draw something for me. If you have an artist friend, go on an art date, trade sketchbooks, and work in each other's sketchbooks. But yeah, overall just make someone else do the work for you. 9 is to move locations. I'm absolutely guilty of this, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of you are too. But we tend to do art in one spot, right? Like I sit at my desk and I do art there, and that's about it. Maybe if I'm feeling crazy, I go sit on the couch. Despite having plenty of inspiration around my room, I purposely try to put up things that inspire me. It gets stale sitting in one place. One thing that always kind of re-sparks my inspiration, whether it results in a good drawing or not, it will kind of re-inspire me, is to just like go somewhere else. Go sit outside on the patio, in the backyard, go to the beach, go to a cafe. You don't have to necessarily draw what's around you, although that's a really easy go-to if you still can't think of anything. But just changing your location can like give you a new idea, a new perspective, and it can give you something like new in your brain that you wouldn't have thought of before. But like I said, if you still can't think of anything, just like draw what you see from this new location, because it's not going to be your bedroom over and over and over again. Finally, number 10 is to copy other people's art. Obviously, be careful about how you post this. Some artists are really not okay with this, and make sure you're properly giving credit, or maybe just don't post it at all to be safe. But this is a great way to work on your own style, work on skill and technique and understanding of things like composition and color theory, or like figuring out your own style without having to put in all the creative work. I love to do master copies, but even on a smaller scale, I love to do studies of things like the basic composition of paintings from classics that I really like. So whether it's taking a great classic painting and doing a quick color comp or a sketch based off of it, or your favorite online artist who has a comic and kind of copying their style over and over again to better understand how they do what they do. Really easy to fill an entire spread with this kind of stuff. Again, be careful that you're not like stealing people's work or ripping it off as your own. Make sure you're properly crediting or not posting at all. But doing stuff like this always really inspires me to come up with my own ideas or my own compositions of things that kind of emulate those classic paintings that I love. It's a great opportunity to break stuff down, understand it better, and understand more about your own art. And there we go, those are 10 ideas to fill your sketchbook. I cannot stress enough how much just like being okay with being bad at stuff makes things easier for you. In your sketchbook, you should feel free to be bad at stuff. I understand wanting everything to look nice, but it's a lot of fun when you just like don't care. It's also a lot easier when you're willing to try new things. When I had myself boxed in and I was like, no, I don't like those things, so I'm not gonna make myself draw them. I got bored really easy. And once I was like, you know what, let me try things that maybe don't interest me as much, I had a lot more fun. So if you listen to that list and you were like, none of those are things that I like to do, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point, is to do stuff that maybe like doesn't come naturally to you or that you didn't think of right away. Things that might seem boring, or it's just about building skill or getting creative. It might not seem fun or seem like something you would want to do, but it ends up being like a great exercise in the end. Open your horizons, be willing to be bad at stuff, and just experiment. I hope that list was helpful. I hope you found something that maybe sparks your interest. Maybe you have some new ideas for your sketchbook. If you want more ideas, let me know. I have more ideas. I can make another video. Just let me know. That being said, I hope you take these ideas, run with them, go work in your sketchbook, go draw. It's time to go draw. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, the whole shebang, you know what to do. I'm gonna go drink some water, get some sun, if you can, and go do some art. Bye.